Hello everybody and welcome back to For Real. It's Wednesday, so that means it's time for this week's news Moto. Before we get started, a reminder to please subscribe, leave a comment and share our videos. This really helps a lot because it increases the reach of the videos. Last week's news Moto had nearly 6,000 more views than the week before. Thank you to everyone who watches, and to those people that are new subscribers, thank you so much for being here, we really appreciate you. As you know, all the money that we make from YouTube we donate straight back to charities in Cambodia. We're for real about this, and in the description of this video you can see the amounts and the charities that we've donated to so far. We're not here to ask for your money, we want nothing more than your time, and since you're already here, let's get started. Today is Wednesday the 4th of August, and as usual, up first today is the current COVID situation here in Cambodia. But before that, in this Olympic week I thought we should look back on Cambodia and its participation in the Olympic Games. Between 1896 and 1952, Cambodia participated as part of France. Cambodia first participated under its own flag in the 1956 Melbourne Olympics with 2 competitors. Now, many countries boycotted those Olympics because of the British and French involvement in the Suez Crisis. Cambodia joined that boycott and did not send any athletes to Melbourne for the Games in November and December. So, how did Cambodia manage to still have 2 competitors at those Games? Stick around and I'll tell you at the end of this news Moto. If you know the answer, shush, don't tell anyone else. Alas, back to COVID we must go. 36 new cases of the Delta variant have been found, bringing the total number of Delta cases to 260. Yesterday, 42 new cases of Delta were found. The total number of new cases today was 577, so the overall numbers are down, but the proportion of new cases identified as the Delta variant is rising. So far, Cambodia has had 79,051 cases of COVID. Figures for all of the ASEAN nations have just been released. As you'd expect, the numbers for Indonesia are staggering with 3.5 million cases, but their population is also much bigger than any of the other nations at 277 million. The Philippines was next after that with 1.6 million cases of COVID, and Malaysia with just under 1.2 million. Don't know whether these figures should be taken too seriously though, because the same table lists Laos as having a population of 73 million, when its population is actually just 7 million. If their population has grown that quickly, there must be something strange in the water over there. The ASEAN data also includes vaccination rates across the 10 countries, and Cambodia is second only to Singapore, which is a much wealthier country and whose population is spread within a very small geographic area. So I think coming second to just that one country is pretty amazing. Well done, Cambodia. The day after last week's news Moto, a range of nationwide measures were announced in an attempt to stop the spread of the Delta variant. These measures are in place for 14 days from the 29th of July to the 12th of August, but of course an extension or additional measures could be added at any stage. It's the usual curfew, but with a few extra measures. So businesses that are banned and not allowed to operate at the moment include karaoke and KTV, bars, discotheques, beer gardens, tourist resorts, leisure parks, massage, all alcohol shops and drinking, cinema, theatre and performing theatre. Also included on that list are museums and gym and sport clubs. You can't have a gathering of more than 10 people unless it meets one of these criteria: family members in the same house, a funeral that's been allowed by the authorities, company meetings, health operations, rescue missions, COVID testing and vaccination, police and military operations, courts and other public service purposes, and there's no drinking gathering allowed. There's a new inclusion in these measures that we haven't seen before, and that's that all restaurants and food courts can only offer takeaway meals. This was later clarified, and as it currently stands, restaurants or food courts which strictly follow the COVID-safe guidelines, such as social distancing and contact tracing, are allowed to have dine-in customers. A strict curfew period is also in place between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m, but last night over 500 people were detained for breaking curfew in Phnom Penh alone. Over the weekend, Phnom Penh police confiscated 892 vehicles during curfew, showing the apparent scale of curfew flouting by Phnom Penh citizens. Of the 254 cars compounded, 150 were gold Camrys and the rest were white Priuses. All 638 motorcycles were reported to be black Honda Dreams. An announcement by the Deputy Commissioner and Phnom Penh Municipal Police Force Commissioner has stated, all residents of Phnom Penh must wear a mask when travelling from one place to another, whether by foot or any other form of transportation. If the instructions are not followed, the authorities will impose fines in accordance with the law. In more drastic measures, the government has decided to temporarily suspend traffic through the Cambodian-Thai border, except for the transportation of goods in special cases. In addition, 8 provinces near the Thai border have been locked down. These include Koh Kong, Pasat, Battambang, Pailin, Banteay Meanchey, Oda Meanchey, Preah and Siem Reap. Travel into and out of these affected provinces will be prohibited. These 8 provinces have been consistently logging cases in excess of double and triple digits daily, and over a sustained period of time, they've also had quite a few fatalities. As a result, quarantine and treatment facilities in these provinces are overwhelmed by the sheer numbers crossing the border daily. Thailand said it understands Cambodia's need to contain the spread of COVID-19 and thus the need to lock down border provinces and apply other public health measures. Cambodian workers in Thailand have been told not to leave their homes to cross the border back into Cambodia at the moment. Because of this unfolding situation, we're donating all of our YouTube revenue from July to charities in these 8 provinces. We'll update you once we've done this and give you the details. In some good news now for burger lovers. The General Department of Customs has stated Cambodia will continue to import frozen meat from India with some conditions, after controversy erupted when traces of COVID-19 were found on some samples. New rules are now in place for the company which aims to import the meat. They must have a certificate issued by the Indian authorities certifying that the meat has tested negative for COVID-19. When the frozen meat arrives in Cambodia, the company must send samples for COVID-19 testing at the Pasteur Institute of Cambodia. The World Health Organization has said COVID-19 cannot be contacted through contact with food or food packaging. Questions were also raised as to whether COVID-19 can remain active, as the shipment takes almost 3 months to arrive in Cambodia from India. Let's move on to the vaccination update. Cambodia launched its COVID-19 vaccination campaign on the 10th of February 2021. With a massive effort, more than 5 million Cambodians are now fully vaccinated. The target is full vaccination of 71.3%, or just over 7 of the 10 million people initially earmarked to be vaccinated against COVID-19. This should be completed in late August or early September, so it'll be about 7 to 8 months ahead of target. The so-called flower or blossom strategy for the implementation of COVID-19 vaccination for children between the ages of 12 and 17 has also commenced. This will increase the number of people earmarked for vaccination from 10 to 13 million, and that will account for 80% of the total population. A scientific study is being conducted to determine the appropriate gaps for the much-discussed 3rd dose and the type of vaccine that should be used. Representatives from Sinovac, which is the most used COVID-19 vaccine in Cambodia, said that a booster shot would increase antibody response tenfold within 1 week. Data from people vaccinated 6 months ago is now being analysed, and preliminary results showed that the antibody levels for about half of them are still good. It doesn't say what good means, or the levels, or anything about the other 50%. Unlike some countries in the world, I'm looking at you, Australia, Cambodia seems to have had no trouble getting vaccines for its population, or getting its population to actually have the vaccinations. Cambodia's Ministry of Health has said it will allow private health facilities to administer COVID-19 vaccines that are recognised by the World Health Organization. These are vaccination brands that aren't currently available to the general population free of charge. Health facilities that want to provide these vaccinations to fee-paying clients must meet a long list of requirements before they can import the vaccines and offer the service. No prices or dates have been published, so it's one to watch. Now for an advertising interlude. Surfing the net is dangerous. That's why you need a VPN. Jokes. We wouldn't do that to you. Did you know For Real is now on Instagram? Check out the link below and follow us there as well. An interesting side effect of tightening Cambodia's borders seems to be that the flow of drugs into the kingdom has slowed down. Only 1 drug bust was reported this week. A man was arrested for illegal possession of drugs following drug busts in 2 different locations. The first happened at the delivery point of Vriak Bantang Company, and the second was at the 31-year-old male suspect's home in Phnom Penh. Only 4 kilos of meth, 2 motorbikes and 2 mobile phones were seized. It seems there won't be a huge bonfire this week. Maybe enough for a small barbecue though. Moving on to the requisite grisly story. A former police officer was found guilty of killing his fiancée. He was sentenced to 10 years jail in order to pay 200 million Riel, or about $50,000, to the deceased's mother. The murder happened last year on the 3rd of September, and I remember this one as the pictures of the murder scene were particularly gruesome. At the time, the murderer was 47 and his fiancée was 27. On the day of the murder, the accused and the victim dined and drank alcohol in their house. The couple had an argument, and it was alleged during the argument the accused took a vegetable knife from the table and stabbed the victim in her neck, which led to her death on the spot. The man then took the vegetable knife and slashed his own throat to end his own life, but was found unconscious near the victim a little later. This is where the story gets strange. The accused recovered and then denied the charge brought against him, saying that the victim died when she fell on the knife in her drunken state. He told the court that during the argument, the victim took a knife and stabbed him, but he grabbed her, and during a tussle they both fell on the ground, and that was when the knife pierced her neck and she died of serious injuries. The old fell on the knife defence. Next up, we have a case of WWTT, or what were they thinking? A 43-year-old woman appealed her 18-year conviction to the Supreme Court. Her crime? Kidnapping her 8-year-old niece and demanding ransom money of $4,000 from the girl's parents for the release of the girl. She was unsuccessful in the appeal, but it is a most curious story. She told the court, "I am very regretful of my mistake. I promise that I will not commit it again. I would like to ask the Supreme Court to reduce my sentence or pardon and release me from prison." According to a police report, the accused kidnapped the child from her school in a taxi on the 20th of July in 2017. Yes, a taxi. Not the most well thought out plan. So the child knows her, and now a taxi driver has also seen her take the child. But it gets even crazier. She then took the victim by taxi to her house, where she telephoned the girl's mother, who is actually her younger sister, and demanded $10,000 in ransom money. During the call, she hit the child so that the mother could hear her cry. The victim's mother, who did not know it was her own sister trying to extort money from her, then started to negotiate the amount. True Cambodian style. 2 days later, she again telephoned with a threat that if the money was not given, she would kill the child. After much negotiation, they agreed to $4,000 in exchange for the child's release. The woman was arrested when she arrived on a motorbike taxi to receive the money at a wing transfer shop. I'm not sure why they negotiated, just to then get the police to arrest her anyway. I guess it wouldn't have been believable to the police unless there was a negotiation. After all, this is Cambodia. The child was unharmed, but also very unhappy that her parents thought she was worth only $4,000. Now, we've come full circle and we're back to Cambodia's Olympic history. I bet some of you out there know the answer. Just to recap though, many countries, including Cambodia, boycotted the Melbourne '56 Olympics to protest British and French involvement in the Suez Crisis. Despite this, Cambodia had 2 competitors in the 1956 Melbourne Olympics. How is it so? Well, it comes down to timing. The Melbourne Olympics were held in November and December, but because of Australia's strict quarantine regulations, all equestrian events were actually held in Stockholm in June, 6 months earlier. This was before the Suez Crisis began, and Cambodia had 2 riders that competed in the show jumping events. If you knew the answer, well done. I only discovered that fact while Googling for this report. To finish up on the Olympics though, Tokyo 1964 was Cambodia's biggest Olympics and 11 competitors were there. They participated in boxing, cycling and sailing. After 1972, for obvious reasons, Cambodia did not participate again until 1996. And in the present day, Cambodia had 3 athletes at the Tokyo Games, 2 men and 1 woman. They competed in the pool in the men's and women's 50-metre freestyle and on the track in the men's 100 metres. None progressed further than their heat, but it was nevertheless wonderful to see them participate. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you here for the news once more. And links to all of the stories can be found in the comments section. If you want to read up on any of them to find out some more detail, you can do that down there. In the description of this video, you'll find links to all of the other YouTube channels that we follow, people that are making content about Cambodia, and also just other people that we watch for our own entertainment. Also in the description, you'll find links to our social media and our brand new Instagram channel. So pop on over there if you're interested in seeing some photos, some kind of only in Cambodia type moments, little snapshots of things that we see that don't really make it to YouTube. Join us over there. We'd be more than happy to have you. As always, take care and stay safe. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.